Following what is the 67th mass shooting so far this year, that has left 3 dead and 5 injured on Monday in Michigan, a Democratic lawmaker from the state expressed some outrage on Twitter. So this is Representative Ranjiv Puri, who tweeted this. Quote, "Today we begin to collectively heal from the horrific events which transpired. Tomorrow we work. My official statement regarding the Michigan State University shooting is below. Fuck your thoughts and prayers. What happened in East Lansing is unfortunately far too common. Going to school in America, whether it's preschool or college, means risking your life every day to the threat of mass shootings. Yet, all we have offered up are empty solutions, traumatizing active shooter drills, and bulletproof backpacks. We do not need to live like this. The United States is the only country where this happens. Thoughts and prayers, without action and change, are meaningless." So, that's, again, Ranjiv Puri. Then you have other Democratic politicians in Michigan that are weighing in. In fact, here is Governor Gretchen Whitmer in her words. And look, you're basically going to see that this is a theme here.
This is a uniquely American problem. Today is the 5th anniversary of the Parkland shooting. We're mere weeks past the Lunar New Year shooting at a dance hall, and a few months past a shooting at an elementary school in Uvalde. And looking back at a year marked by shootings at grocery stores, parades, and so many other ordinary, everyday situations, we cannot keep living like this. Our children are scared to go to school. People feel unsafe in their houses of worship or local stores. Too many of us scan rooms for exits when we enter them. And many of us have gone through the grim exercise of figuring out who our last call would be to. Last night, a lot of kids on this campus made those calls. They worried for their lives and for their friends, for their fellow Spartans. Parents across Michigan were on pins and needles, calling their kids to tell them that they love them. As parents, we tell our kids, it's going to be okay. We say that all the time. But the truth is, words are not good enough. We must act, and we will.
Look, on that last part, we will act. Yes, Democrats in Michigan have been, for the last couple of years, putting forward gun control proposals, things like universal background checks, things that are generally should not be controversial, okay? Things that most people, even gun owners, agree with. That said, up until now, or I should say into the last election, Republicans have controlled both of the chambers, the lower chambers of Michigan, of Congress in Michigan. And so they have blocked every single gun control measure that had come up for a vote. So maybe this will change. I don't know. I'm not sure. But they are attempting to try. That said, President Biden has also pledged $231 million to states to do things like red flag laws. And it's called on Congress to do something. Of course, Congress is not going to do something because Congress is completely bought and paid for by gun manufacturers, at least Republicans are, and groups like the NRA. So nothing will happen there. Okay. So, but getting back to the point where she says that this is a uniquely American problem. Correct. Absolutely correct. And again, all of these politicians are, and the people that say this are 100% right. Yes, we've been saying this for a long time. It's true. We're the only country that has this problem. And there are other countries that have done things to solve that problem, to prevent that problem, that we refuse to do. Now, I've got another video here. This is Representative Alyssa Slotkin. Here's what she had to say.
I cannot believe that I am here again doing this 15 months later. And I am filled with rage that we have to have another press conference to talk about our children being killed in their schools. And I would say that you either care about protecting kids or you don't. You either care about having an open, honest conversation about what is going on in our society or you don't. But please don't tell me you care about the safety of children if you're not willing to have a conversation about keeping them safe in a place that should be a sanctuary.
All right, so look, thoughts and prayers, getting back to the original tweet here. It's nothing but performative. That's all it is. Performative gestures, right? Oh, thoughts and prayers, thoughts and prayers. We're not actually going to do anything, but we're going to give you thoughts and prayers. Well, those performative gestures do absolutely nothing. They mean nothing. They will change nothing. And that's the whole point. They don't want to change anything. Now, look, I feel like most politicians, at least on a federal level, all they do is performative actions. So that said, I do think that the pain is real. At least, for some of these people that have been speaking out on this issue. Yes, I think on a lot of other issues, there is performative action, there is lip service, but I generally do believe that Democrats do care about, stopping the murder of children in their schools. It's not like something like, oh no, I believe in raising the wages. Oh yes, and doing all that. Okay, but anyway, performative actions, right? That said, right-wingers, right-wing politicians, yeah, performative actions. And then, of course, what happens is they do this, and then they, pretty much do nothing afterwards, and then it just dies down, and then we as a country move on into the next mass shooting, and then we're all outraged. We're stuck in this perpetual cycle, is what I'm saying. And as I said before, we're the only country that has to deal with this. Why is that? Again, it's because of corruption, greed, lobbying, and gun culture. Okay. So now that said, I looked at some of the responses to, this tweet and to the video from Melissa Slotkin. And of course, what did I see? Right-wingers, conservatives coming out and putting out the same statements. Gun-free zones. Oh, just see the schools, they're gun-free zones. That's what they're going on. That's what's going on. See, if you didn't have gun-free zones, if everybody had guns, then the good guy with the gun would have taken out the bad guy with the gun. Oh, okay, but there's not really any evidence that gun-free zones increase the likelihood of mass shootings. And look, there are studies here. Now, first, let me get to the Rand Corporation, who did an analysis, okay, and found, actually, interestingly enough, that there wasn't enough evidence to conclude that gun-free zones had any effect on violent crime whatsoever, whether positive or negative. Now, the reason is there's not enough study that's been done. In fact, I do believe that Congress is still not allowed to go and do actual, congressional studies on gun violence. Or at least they haven't been. And so, yes, that would be why there is no analysis here. That's why there is an inconclusive analysis, okay, on violent crime. Now, that said, that doesn't mean there hasn't been independent studies. And let me give you the details on those. Back in 2016, a study by researchers from the University of Massachusetts, Boston, John Hopkins, Bloomberg School of Public Health, and Stanford University found that the vast majority of high-casualty mass shootings occurred in places where guns are allowed or not explicitly banned. So now they found that between 1966 and June 2016, only 12% of U.S. mass shootings involving 6 or more victims occurred in a gun-free zone, and only 5% occurred where civilian gun possession was prohibited. So now you might think, okay, we have different definitions of what a mass shooting is. So that one was 6, right? There are others that looked at 4, and there are other studies that looked at every single victim as one mass shooting, right? So we'll get to that in a minute, right? Now, another study of U.S. mass shootings involving 4 or more fatalities between 2009 and 2015 found that only 13% occurred in a gun-free zone. Okay. Now, the analysis, however, that's most cited by Republicans came from John Lott. John Lott claimed that 98% of mass shootings happened in gun-free zones. So now, again, this comes down to what is a mass shooting? How many victims are in a mass shooting, right? And so now Lott counted each individual mass shooting death as an entire separate incident. Oh, okay. Now, Lott, after being pointed out, corrected that and still made a new claim that 94% of mass shootings occurred in gun-free zones. Now, he had misclassified certain shootings, played fast and loose, again, with what was defined as a mass shooting, and also left out some other mass shootings that had happened in areas that were not gun-free zones. So, nonetheless, that Lott study continues to be quoted by by members of the right wing, and to say, oh, gun-free zone's bad, you gotta get rid of the gun-free zones, gotta have all guns. Every zone is a gun-full zone. Arm everyone at all times. Because of the good guy with the gun, obviously. Well, okay, what do the studies say about the good guy with the gun? Well, one study says, successful civilian uses of guns to stop mass shootings were incredibly rare, and about as common as armed civilians being shot while attempting to respond to mass shooting incidents. I also found that no evidence finds right to carry laws reduced mass shootings or the number of shooting victims. So, good guy with a gun, I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. Yeah, there are instances that you could cherry pick out where there is an armed person that happens to, respond at the right time in the right place. It's also statistically rare. And it's, and it happens just as often as somebody who is mistaken for a perpetrator by police and then shot by police. Because how do they know? This is why law enforcement agencies, and again, if you're somebody who claims to be very pro-police, like the right wing, I guess, claim to be, well then you would listen to the law enforcement officers that say, whatever you do, like, yeah, maybe we should not have so many people with guns, going around and trying to basically do our job for us. We don't know if you're a perpetrator or not. We see somebody with a gun, we're going to shoot them. Again, that's the issues with the good guy with the gun. And so, look, the problem here is there are people who think that they're John McClane, right? Who think they're going to come in, they're going to play the hero, they're going to save the day. It's a great fantasy, but that's all. It's a fantasy. It's not real. More often than not, you're going to end up either getting shot yourself and then allow someone else who is a perpetrator or a mass shooter to then come and collect your gun and then use it against someone else. Or you were going to get shot by police, responding police officers, okay? Or, you're going to accidentally take out a civilian. That's generally what happens. So it's an unfortunate reality here. And look, at the end of the day, we know what works. We've seen what other countries have done, but we refuse to do it. In fact, the United States continues to attempt to do the opposite of what every other country that does not have mass shootings on the scale and level and frequency of the United States. And I've explained before why that's the case. Gun culture, lobbying, right? Corruption in Congress. Again, the people who are, so as gung-ho about trying to prevent any sort of gun legislation are a very, very vocal minority that has also been fed nonstop propaganda about, crime statistics, or, been basically scared, lulled into a sense of just perpetual fear by, oh, they're coming for you, they're coming to get you. The only thing that can protect you is your gun. Police aren't going to come save you. They're not going to do this. And by the way, there's a certain at this point, there's a certain amount of truth to that. But it's because police more protect property than anything at this point. Nonetheless, everyone has been told, get a gun, get more guns. It's the only way to protect yourself is to shoot everything else. And you wonder why there's a gun violence problem in this country. That's part of it. And by the way, while this all happens, while there are more and more gun sales, guess who that benefits? Corrupt politicians, media, specifically right-wing media, which, by the way, gets a lot of attention because they focus endlessly on crime and violence and, that kind of reporting, as well as gun manufacturers that cash in when people go and buy guns. That's what's going on. So when they point out and say that it's a uniquely American problem, yeah, because no other country has some amount of legalized corruption that we have. At least no other modern industrial country like we are has this problem, has legalized corruption to this degree. And as also, you could talk about the individualistic culture as well, how you are the only person that you can rely on, you and your trusty gun. You could go into that. You can go into the ravages of our economic system, which makes everyone, which of course increases the likelihood of crime because people can't get by. There's all sorts of different factors that, that are uniquely American, again, that lead into this problem. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is
USA, USA, USA.